Hello, my name is Suan Frala. I am a youth worker for my own brand, Josimi, and I'm the creator of a serious game called She Tells a Story, which is a game about bullying. With my company, I give teachings and into building and creating online communities for youth workers in relation to gaming. For me, digital work is everything to do with the internet. So from simple social media posts to conversation on Discord calls. Everything that is digital, everything that requires the internet, for me is digital. What digital work is for me. The biggest group that I work with is between the age of 13 to the age of 30, but my main focus is between 16 and up. This is due to the games that we play are mainly made for that group of the people that I meet, but also because the art that's being created, and usually kids around that age have more to offer. So the youth have more things that they can work with when they're above 16. One of the skills I like to build with young people is a skill to is the ability to have more confidence with themselves. I noticed that mostly young adults these days, they are coming to the internet because they don't have a lot of confidence in themselves. So I kind of use their skills to work on that. So for example, to the internet, video games, art skills, to develop those, you need a lot of confidence. So I kind of help them to build that confidence back into them so that they are more secure and more proud of what they do, as well as online as well as outside of online. I think that is super important when you're working with youth that are that have that thing where it's, it can be daunting to be online, and I know how that can be. And I think when I first started, I was really scared when I released some of my artworks and when I made my own things or when I played games. So I understand why it can be a bit daunting to play with other people or to have like that kind of connection. So that's why I try to build it so that they actually can build their skills outside of this as well, so that they become more confident in what they do and help them with practical skills as well. So that's one of the main things that I try to do. One of the things I do test and see what youth are capable of is setting them up for like small challenges. So for example, one of the things I do when I play a certain game, I make sure that they are the lead in that game, so I give them the confidence to be that leader, as well as when one of the youth comes to me and asks me like, hey, I need to prepare for like an interview, or I need to prepare for something else, can you please help me with that? I give them the confidence so that they can do it. I think a couple of months ago I had to help a kid that was around the age of 13, and they were very insecure about the work that they do in school. So what I've done is I made it so that they have more confidence in themselves to be able to work on that skill, which was very interesting to do. One of the skills I like to build with young people, so that's one of the skills I like to work with them. So one of the things I've done in the past couple of years is making sure I always ask people like what they want to do. When I think about one of the things I think is really important is being open on giving them the full control about what they want to learn. By doing that, you don't limit them to their specific type of skills. You give them the full control about their own journey. When I started this community that I built on Discord, I didn't actually set up a certain things hey, this is what you have to do this week. No, I just let them do their own thing. I think it's super important for youth to give them the skills that they want to learn and let them be that way. When you give them that confidence, they will open up eventually. If you're open yourself to them, they will open up to you. I think it's super important to make sure that you have that definition with each other so that you give them that power to learn for themselves. And it gives them very interesting developments as well. And it gives you different results, and it always gives you those special things that you're looking for. And so one of the things that I do mainly for youth is make sure that I'm 3 days a week in Discord at least. That's the minimum for myself that I try to do, and then at least for 2 hours. I open up the call, I make sure that I have the activities ready where you can have like gaming moments with each other, like play a certain game or just talk. I think it's super important to try and do that, because that will basically make it so that the youth are growing and that you give them that safety that you're there if they need you. One of my biggest achievement, I think, for as a youth worker and with digital youth worker, has been a game dev program that I've run, which was where I train young, inspiring game devs. Want to make games, encourage them to make those games, and I think that's been like an incredible thing to do. So one of the things that happened is that they've created a game within 10 days. For a specific challenge. They call them game dev challenges, or in short they call them game jams, and I've noticed that by doing that with them, it actually encourages them to grow. I've seen youth that are very insecure about themselves sometimes actually developing the skills that they needed and actually being able to like perform with those. So I've seen like a youth where they've accomplished it, that they were able to make that game and now actually make it into a professional game and actually releasing it on certain platforms for like a good cause or anything else. So basically we've been able to get that done, and I think that that's my biggest accomplishment, is seeing them actually do that and being able to be confident with that. The main tool that I use for all of my youth work is Discord, like I mentioned. I use that because that's where I know what they will be. I think about myself at the time when I was young, where would I go first, which was places where I could talk. And that used to be forums. Think about ProBoards BB, which was one of the websites I used back in my time when I was young. And that was the place where I connected to people, because that's where I found my own group and where I built my own group. So looking at it now, it's so interesting to see them exactly doing the exact same. When they're inconfident or when they, lose that confidence, that is the place where they will go to. And I see that now all the time. Like I notice that all the youth that I talk to, they're all on Discord. They're all using that platform to create their own things. And it's so cool to see that happening, because it makes you realize that they have the confidence. They have the ability to use that same platform that I would use for their own thing as well. Anyone who games or watches streams on YouTube also knows about Discord. So a lot of youth who are like into streaming, or they have like certain streams that they watch or anything else, they always know that people will hang out in Discord servers. Even like the famous Dutch YouTubers or Dutch Twitch streamers will be on those platforms. They will be on Twitch and they will have a Discord server. So that's where a lot of youth will go to if they want to really like invest themselves more into those kind of streamers. So I see that a lot, and that's usually where you'll find them as well. And another thing that I've also noticed from some of my research is that a lot of first-time gamers, so when you have like a specific game, for example, Destiny 2 that I play a lot, which is a video game, usually a lot of the young people will be there when they're like new to the game. They'll be in that server asking for people to help them out with the game, or asking like, hey, this is my first time playing this game. I don't know how to do this specific activity. Could you help me, please? And that's kind of like the clue that I noticed. Like every single time there was usually about 80 to 85% they were youth there. So I think for youth workers, it might be like a really good idea to start looking into like actual video games and see what they are, and then connect with those youth. It works. If you have like a specific game, I know that GTA 5 is really popular with them too. Fortnite's really popular. Roblox, of course, is super popular with youth. Like these games like Destiny 2 is a bit of a mixed one, but it is a place where people will be. There's so many games. I could list the whole list. I think I could go on for like a couple of hours with just listing the games where they will be. But there's a lot of like communities built around those kind of games, but also on art. These days I see a lot of like art groups as well forming around youth, where they will like show off their skills about like being an artist and everything else. So it's like really cool to see that happening, and I'm very glad to see that connection happening currently. So Discord is one of those platforms where security and safety is sometimes a hard one, but it is a very easy one to do. One of the things that I always do when I first let people into my Discord server is that they need to have 2FA immediately turned on. That is also because it is super important to have 2FA, which is a special security thing where the two-factor authentication, that's exactly what it means. So for example, you log into Discord, you will have to type in a code to log in. Or if you are on Discord on your phone already, you could have to scan a QR code in order to log into on your phone or on desktop version. So it is basically a security thing, which is super important to have, because for example, if you do get caught with a scam, there is always a way of making sure that doesn't happen. So that's one of the ways that I always do. And I always also inform people about those kind of scams. Because I am a moderator for a lot of communities, one of the perks of that is that I know a lot of those, I see those scams a lot. So I always share that with them. I make sure that they know that, hey, there are scams currently going around. Make sure you turn on your 2FA to, that you're making sure that it's secure. Another thing that I do with youth, sometimes when they come to me with a very personal story, which happens sometimes, I make sure that I go into a one-on-one chat that nobody else can see. Because I'm the administrator of this forum, I have the full control about that, so nobody else can just step in if there's another admin around. So that way I have the full control over that conversation, and I can actually have that conversation with them in private. Sometimes I'll call them through like DMs as well. That also happens sometimes, but for like quality wise, it's usually better to just do like actual like call, but nobody else can see those. So it's just you and that person, and it makes it so that they feel secure, because then it is a private conversation. If sometimes it happens that the youth talks about something that is basically a little, you're like, this is not really appropriate for here, I do go and talk to someone, or I gave them like information to talk to someone else, just to make sure that they have to get the help that they need. I do collaborate with people, and I do a lot of things at schools. As I already said, I made a game called She Tells a Story, which is a game where I host game design workshops at schools around the country. And one of the things I do is I do talk about Discord and stuff. I make sure that is like something that I do mention, that I have like a community there. But also like built like partnerships with different programs. Some of the things that I've done, I have like a teacher account with Scratch, which makes sure that I can hand out accounts to students easier. I have full control over that, so I can like see what's going on and stuff like that. Scratch is a little small engine that is mainly used by kids between the age of 8 and 16, where they can build their first games in. So that's like a way for me to be able to see what's going on there. But another thing I've done is I've worked with Ableton as well as Sprite, which are two big companies where one is for music and one is for pixel art. So I've worked with them to provide keys so that my students could work with that, as well as with some book authors as well for like how about game design and stuff. So I've built those kind of partnerships, which are super important, because that builds the ability to make sure that they have the tools that they need to make what they want to make. So that's really important for me. And as well as I'm also part of the Always Supporting the Games Community one, which used to be from Amir, which is a place in case youth are interested in growing more as a game developer. They have a place there to go to for more information about like mentors and how to get into the gaming industry. When it comes to seeing the methods of my working, I do a lot of chat with youth. I always ask them like every month, like, hey, Are you enjoying yourself? Why are you still here? What is it about this place that keeps you here? Ask those questions because I'm curious. What do they still think about this place? What inspires them to be here? What makes them come? So that's for me very important. And I always try to keep up with all the tech that's being used. I always read all the patch notes for Discord in case new things have been done, like changes and stuff, as well as like moderation tools and stuff. Like, is there anything that we can make it so that it's more secure? But also things like tech wise, like for example, if youth are, for example, bad of hearing or are like blind, it's really difficult and hard then to, of course, be able to read the text. But what is the technology behind there? I met a couple of people who are, for example, deaf, and then you can basically go into a voice call, and all of that call will be translated into text, which is, of course, a technology that's super important and really cool to have, because that means that everyone can be part of this, and it's not just for people who are, who can well, this makes it so that they are part of this community too. One of the things that I hope that changes over the years when it comes to digital youth work, I think it's very important, something that I wrote down, is make sure that you know what they're into, which is a bit of a weird one, but a lot of youth workers, I think, are like into this, like, okay, so this is what we're, building, or this is what we're doing. But they don't actually know, like, really what's going on. I think it's super important to know, like, what makes that youth person, what makes them go into that specific topic or specific thing. I see a lot of people that are like, because when they attract them, they usually are there because of a certain game that they play or certain other things that they do. So that's usually where they find the connection with them. Keep that connection. Like, it's super important to keep that same connection. So knowing what is happening is very important. When I look at myself, like when I was young, I didn't have a youth worker, at least not in my time. They were there, but I never seen them or never talked to them or never been able to or found them. So I think what is really important for me is to be open about that. Youth come to the internet because they want to escape it. They want to be out there, they want to be online because that's where they feel safe. If they don't have a safe environment around them outside of the internet, this is where they'll be. I didn't have any friends when I was growing up. I didn't have anyone that I could really like count on. So for me, the internet was the place to be, to feel secure and feel safe. So I think it's super important to make sure that that is being used. And I think with Discord and stuff, like I mentioned a lot of times now, for me, that if I had a Discord itself, I would have probably felt more confident as well. Because now I know, like, when I, like, an honest example, I think for me is that I hate calls. I hate making phone calls with someone. And I hate picking up the phone if someone calls me. But I don't on Discord. It's so easy to just go on because nobody can actually like see you, or it's a different type of thing, different type of feeling. So building that, I think, is super important. I think that's where youth work definitely can grow. Make sure you build that place where they can feel like themselves. When it comes to the final question that I ask, and I can see where the future will be built. One of the things that I hope to build is a giant Discord platform where all organizations are connected. I think, like, some people say, like, okay, well, Discord isn't really made for that, and I prefer Slack or anything, but I personally hate Slack. I think it's ridiculous, the things you have to do in order to get that to work. Well, Discord is just, you create a username, you log in, and you're done. It takes a snap of a finger, and it's basically done. So it's way more pleasant and way more safe, I feel like. So I think that's, for me, like, one of the reasons. And I think it's also important to not just think about the finances. Like, a lot of people are like, yeah, but it needs to be this, it needs to be that, and it needs to make money, blah, blah, blah. I think it's more important to work on that group first and build that group first, and then start to think about that little part that needs to be done. Like, for me, I think one of the things that I love about what I do currently is that when I go online at night and open up that voice call and someone joins, that is some of the best feelings you can have. And yeah, it takes some time out of your night, but during the day, youth are usually not really there. So yeah. I hope in the future that the technology becomes even bigger. I have seen someone wearing like XR glasses, which are like this, like if you put them on, you can see like, I don't know, a movie or a game and like through your glasses. I think that's pretty cool. I think that could work with having like Discord calls on there. The technology currently is already there that if you don't have a PC or a phone, you can use Discord on your PlayStation or on your Xbox, which is really, really cool for youth that don't have that. You'll hear a lot of stories that a lot of youth don't have a computer, so this is a way that they still can be part of that. But those glasses also kind of interest me, so I'm kind of curious where that goes. I'm curious what that could do. They're probably super expensive, so I don't want to think about it now, but like, what if that in the future becomes pretty cheap, and it's something that we can think about. My hope for more organizations to see how powerful digital work can be. When I looked on LinkedIn, I've seen a lot of posts where youth workers don't really think about the digital world as a place, but it should be a place. They should see it as more of a place. Like, I dream that some of the companies that I've worked with in the past few years, that they start to think more about that. That they start to really start to build more with like a community that's also online, not just offline. Like, seeing youth work on their skills within like the Discord server and really like working on those things, as well as like being online. Like, not a lot of youth can stay late or can stay for like these big events. They will eventually have to go home, or something else is going on, the reason why they need to go. That's why I think it's super important to make sure that it's available for everyone. So if you have to like create a space that's just online, it will get more people to join. Like, there's a lot of kids. I've seen the recent videos of someone who was in a video game. I think it was World of Warcraft. He built an entire community through there. When he passed away, everyone was crying. I think that is super. That shows like how important it is to build something that's online as well, so that they also can participate. That people who are autistic or people who are, not confident in themselves, that they have a place to go to, because usually a lot of people will feel online is more safe than the regular world. So that's why I think that's super important. So yeah, I think that is like the most important thing. I think for organizations that are like scared about like if they have enough people to work on things, I think for me, what I do is, of course, I spend a couple of hours every night to spend with them. But I also do that because I feel like for me it's also very important just to have that moment, talk to someone, because it's still like, I still don't have a lot of people outside of the online world, so having that space there with them is very important to me. So yeah, that's, I think, everything that I wanted to say in this video. I hope it helps you guys with your organizations, with what you're building, to build an even better place online. And I hope that this video helped you with that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye bye.